All right. Yay. Let's talk for a minute. All right. All right. I really don't want to talk about this, but I have to. I've seen it far too many times over the past few weeks, and wow. Okay. So, FIFA 21. All right. Let's talk about this game. It's basically FIFA 20 from last year for the Nintendo Switch, which is also FIFA 19, which is also from the Nintendo Switch as well. So they've been calling them legacy editions for far too long, and Nintendo fans have once again let up. Once again, been let down by EA on FIFA. Now, you're probably wondering why are they doing this? Why they not just release a full featured game? Now, wow, while people of PlayStation and Xbox will quickly run and say, well, you know what? Switch is just not powerful enough to run FIFA. Y'all gotta get it through your heads. Hell, it's not powerful enough. It's just, that's the bottom line. But what PlayStation and Xbox fans don't realize is that there have been third-party companies who've been giving us their full efforts on the Nintendo Switch, despite the power. When you look at Jump Force on the Nintendo Switch, I know that's not a good comparison, but when you look at Jump Force on the Nintendo Switch, it came with all the Season 1 DLC, and we're getting Season 2 DLC next year. So we'll be seeing all the Season 2 DLC soon, but Jump Force is fully featured. 2K, from 2K18 to 2K21, even the Mamba Forever Edition has been fully featured on par with PlayStation and Xbox games. May not be on par in graphics and clothing physics, but you can tell that 2K puts effort into each and every version of 2K every single year. 2K21 on Nintendo Switch I played the demo, and I'll be honest with you, I was freaking loving the demo, even though the shooting mechanics are off. But I plan to buy that version, the Mamba Forever Edition. Yes, I'm gonna pay out $100 just to get the Kobe edition of the game, because rest in peace, Kobe. All right. But when it comes down to freaking EA, you gotta ask yourself, should you support this game or not? Because when you have another soccer game on the Switch, Captain Tsubasa, I know a lot of people want PS on Switch. That's Konami's deal. Konami's barely doing anything as a game company, but EA, however, is backing up their claim that they made to the investors. Their claim was that Nintendo fans don't buy these kind of games. Don't buy their games. Because when you look at Nintendo systems, it's a claim that everybody makes. Nintendo fans only buy Nintendo games. That's all they play. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, and I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna get to that in a minute, and I'm gonna rest assured. So I recorded this video. I recorded this video the first time, and I was thinking to myself like, dang, I didn't address all sides of the problem. So, with that being said, that EA has some truth. But then when you look at what they're doing for the Nintendo Switch, they only released like a couple of the published indie games and a couple of their older titles, Burnout Paradise, Need for Speed, and they're apparently bringing Apex Legends, which I have not seen a trailer or heard or seen since they announced that game coming to the Nintendo Switch. We don't even know how the game is going to run on the Switch because they're not saying nothing on that game. Anywho, with that being said, and EA's creating their own excuse, and that's not acceptable. While a lot of review companies are telling us to skip this game, I'm gonna give you a good reason on. It's a double-edged sword, but I'm gonna give you a good reason on why you should at least consider. I think that's the only thing I did not do. When I thought about this, after I made my first video, I put the blame all on EA, which is still holds true. I put the blame on EA so much, but then I gotta consider their argument. So let's talk about this. Nintendo fans only buy Nintendo games. This is something that I have been preaching over how many years now? that Nintendo fans need to buy third-party games. You know, just because our system is weak doesn't mean that we shouldn't support the third parties that do come to our systems. This is the reason why I'm shouting support Bowden Wonderworld and Monster Hunter Rise and Jump Force even on Switch, because we have these companies doing a lot for us on the Nintendo Switch, and we do need to buy our third parties. So when it comes down to these scenarios where companies start doing the bare minimum for us, they won't back up their claim. We won't be backing up their claims. You know, we'll be able to say, we do support your company, we do support your games, because you gotta look at what you did for Witcher. Now, according to CD Projekt Red, that made the sales go up because the Witcher Switch actually worked out for them, and I'm pretty sure somewhere in their mind they said, "Dang, we wish Switch was powerful enough to run to at least get Cyberpunk 2077 on the Switch." I know somewhere in their hearts they were wishing that the Switch was powerful enough just to put something out of that game, that caliber, on the Switch, because The Witcher 3 did so well. And honestly, who was expecting The Witcher 3 to actually make that big of a splash? But when you actually look at games like Dragon Quest 11, Final Fantasy 15 even came to the Switch. Of course, it was the Pocket Edition, but still, the game came to the Switch. And personally, I prefer that version a lot better because I had the full version on Xbox One, and I barely touched it because I played the Pocket Edition on Switch, and I found that a whole lot engaging. I'm sorry to say. That. But, yeah. When you actually look at companies like Mortal Kombat, even Mortal Kombat's on the Switch. You know, they still putting out the DLC for Switch. Something fell. They're still putting out the DLC on Switch. You know, we gotta support these third-party games. But when it comes to EA, though, you're not showing a reason for us to say, "Oh, we should start supporting these guys now." If you're still doing the bare minimum, Capcom was doing the bare minimum. You know, but now we got Monster Hunter Rise and Stories, and everybody's giving them praise. You know, Witcher 3 came with the DLC, graphic settings. You know, it came fully featured, and it came in a nice little box. You know, let me go ahead and grab that real quick and show you. They did a lot for Witcher 3 on Switch. Yeah, let me see. Got Witcher 3 on Switch, and when it comes down to Dragon Quest, we got exclusive content first. We got the S treatment first on Switch. You know, Dragon Quest 11 S, we got that exclusive stuff first. This is what it takes, man, to start supporting these third-party games. We gotta start supporting these third-party games so companies like EA, you know, when they say that we don't buy their games, look stupid. But again, when you also look at EA, they also think that they deserve to be on top on every single console along first-party games and such. But when you put the bare minimum to your games, then you're asking for yourself to fail. And you're asking for that reason to come to fruition, so you'll stop supporting the Switch. Now, we have history of EA laughing, mocking, even, you know, disrespecting Nintendo in their consoles, their games, their fan base altogether. We have them, you know, we have them, you know, talking, and, you know, and they have showed this urge, like, to make games for Nintendo Switch. So with the investors asking why they're not on Nintendo Switch, you know, it's like they're forcing themselves on the Nintendo Switch, but they're also trying to create a reason on why they shouldn't be there as well. So when it all is said and done, I'm gonna say this: do or don't consider about your purchase for EA games coming to Nintendo Switch. Consider it likely. Do you want EA to keep making games for Nintendo Switch, or do you don't want to support their bad business practices? Personally, it's a tug of war between the fans and EA. Hey, EA don't want to support the console, but they do want those sales on top like they want to, and the fans don't want to support EA, but they do want EA games. It's a tug of war between the Nintendo fans and EA, and it shouldn't be like that. But when you have great examples like this, even find this game right here. Even when you have great examples like this, Jump Force, and if I could pull one more example out. Mortal Kombat. We have examples like this that come to Nintendo Switch. when you come to Nintendo Switch and you have these examples, these great examples of third-party games putting the full effort, we have to support these games. But when we trying to get somebody to notice us, that's a double-edged sword, and we should have to consider that as a double-edged sword. We should be able to make a purchase on instinct alone. I want to support EA games on Nintendo Switch just as bad as you do, but I also want EA to actually give me a reason to as well. If they don't feel like giving me a reason to, just think I should blindly buy it just to get more support, then that's a problem. I want to support EA. I want you to take a good look at what we're playing, good look at what third-party games that we have. I want y'all to actually take a good look and think about it. I'm not gonna be like everybody and say do not pick up the game, because again, that's supporting the reason. Consider, think before you purchase. Y'all have a blessed one.